morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for all taking the trouble to come along this morning for what I'm sure you'll agree is an announcement of some very exciting news. At this stage, I'd like to give you the pleasure to introduce, first of all, Frank Maloney, John Horner, and of course, Lennox Lewis. My input is probably minimal. Let me hand over this stage to John Horner.
What's your name?
My name, Tom Hisco. John Horner.
Well, good morning to everybody. Some of you I remember from Las Vegas during our trip out there. Others, the first time I'll be seeing you, but I hope to see you a lot more in the future. During the past 4 months, Lennox Lewis and I have entertained offers from just about every major boxing promoter in the United States and Europe. About 3 weeks ago, we visited the Conf gym in Detroit. We were sitting in the living room with Emmanuel Stewart, and Emmanuel was telling us about his trip to London. And he sat back in his chair and he said to us, "Man, if I was a fighter, I'd want to come to England." And Lennox and I looked at each other, and we smiled. And having the opportunity to choose anywhere in the world from which to base his career, Lennox Lewis has chosen to come home. Home to the birthplace of boxing, and home to his own birthplace. Today, Lennox is going to sign a management contract with Frank Maloney. And it's important for all of us to know that his choice is not one of the worst, or taking the best of the worst. Lennox's choice is taking the best of all the best offers. Now, during this process, a lot of people have opportunities to go behind my back and try to get to Lennox. And no one has done that. And I appreciate that. So when we're dealing with people, and I'd like to recognize them because of the ethical nature in which they carried on the negotiations. To Bob Arum with Top Rank, Shelley Finkel of Main Events, Emmanuel Stewart and Prenticeburg of the Kronk, the Goosens at 10 Goose Boxing in California, to Mickey Duff and Jarvis Astaire, Cedric Kushner, David Wolf, Jerry Cooney, Dan Albaum, Alan Baboynan, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Traynor, and J.D. Brown. And most of all, to Stan Hoffman of the Houston Boxing Association. We thank you very much for your openness, your honesty, and your advice. Both Lennox and I appreciate all you've done for us, and we look forward to greeting you as friends in the future. At the beginning of our relationship, Lennox and I agreed that we would treat every offer that came with respect. Well, after Bob Arum announced Lennox and his presence at a press conference for the Sugar Ray Leonard-Thomas Hearns fight at Caesar's Palace, someone here in the press was able to contact Frank Maloney. Well, Frank started calling up my house, and I didn't know who he was, but he was very persistent. He'd phone at all hours of the day and night. About 1 month after our first conversation, Frank Maloney was able to convince Lennox and I to come over here and visit. Knowing that Lennox had a brother here, we all figured the worst thing that could happen is we'd get a free trip to see his brother, and that might be that. Well, after 2 days of meetings with Frank and his backers, we came to two conclusions. And at first, their offer was to be taken very seriously. Second, the public in England would fall in love with Lennox Lewis. So last Tuesday at 5 in the morning Chicago time, where I live, I was awakened by Frank, and we put the final touches on a deal that will bring Lennox Lewis to England. It's a special contract for a special person. The money is very reasonable, but it's a deal that will work for both sides. Lennox is excited about the money, but he's more excited about other aspects of the contract. There's a provision in there which will help to educate Lennox while he is a fighter. There's a promise to educate Lennox for 5 years after his retirement from boxing, to pay for his education. There's a promise to bring his mother over from Canada for visits, to see all of his fights wherever that may be. There's also a promise to work with the Houston Boxing Association, who will serve as advisors. And this will make Lennox Lewis an attractive property not only here but in the United States, and will make him ready so when he does fight for the world title, Lennox Lewis will win. In closing, I'd like to thank one other person. That's the person sitting next to me, who's a very special human being. No one could ask for a better client than Lennox Lewis. His intelligence, his humility, and his ability to trust someone like me to put his life in my hands. These are qualities which are truly refreshing in the sport of boxing. Lennox Lewis will sign what I believe, and I humbly believe, is the best boxing contract ever offered to a fighter. So Lennox, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've helped to make my life more than I could ever dream. Now I'd like to thank you and pass it over to Frank Maloney.
There's not a lot I can follow on with that. As you know, I'm a man of very little words. I started out with a dream. I think Pete's done a big article on two white heavyweights we had who have fallen by the wayside. The dream has now become reality. We have possibly the only man that can bring the world title back to Britain. And
Well, I'd just like to thank, in fact, I'd like to thank John first, because I call him my whiz kid. And, you know, a lot of people try and take advantage of him because he's got a baby face, and he's not easy to take advantage of. And he's very smart. He also still goes to school, which is good. And he's been falling behind lately, so after this is all finished with, he should be going back to school and cramming for a while. I'd like to thank Frank for giving me the opportunity to come and represent England. I'd also like to thank British people, the press, that's everybody involved with putting everything together. Oh, and my brother's kind of shy, so I just want to show you, there's my brother right there, Dennis. Stand up, man. Okay.
Who was very instrumental in getting Lennox over here also, I might add.
John, just so we know, we'd like to throw the meeting open to questions from the floor for about 20 minutes. There'll then be an opportunity for Lennox and Frank to do some television work for about a quarter of an hour, and we will then be available for some photographs. So, and there is then, following that, lunch, and you're everyone more than welcome to stay for as long as you can. It's obviously a good opportunity at that stage to ask further questions. But if there are any questions at this stage, I'd like to throw the floor open.
When's I hope for the first fight then, Lennox?
we'll be looking for the beginning of July in London.
What sort of contract is it, Frank?
It's a 5-year contract.
Yeah, well, promotional or management?
Management
Just
contract.
Management. Who will do the promotional contract?
Whoever makes us the best offer.
So you will fight all around the world.
That's the hope.
We'd like to be the first opponent.
We'll be a British opponent.
Where will Lennox live?
We'll live in London,
In London or outside?
on the outskirts.
East side.
It's up to Lennox to decide.
We have a quick resume of Lennox's childhood, where exactly he was brought up.
Better leave Lennox to...
Well, I was brought up in England or Canada?
England.
East London. And at the age of 9, I went over to Canada, where I stayed with my mother, and also began boxing.
Your mother was already over there, was she?
Yeah, she went over there.
Are you hoping now you're based in Britain to do what one of our other fighters hopes to do, Nigel Bent? His ambition to clean up, as he puts it, in Britain and Europe first, and then go across and take on more Great America.
Yes, I have. I've thought about that, and that seems the best way to go.
What's the question with your passport, Lennox? Have you got any problems with that?
I don't think there's going to be any problem.
You hold a Canadian passport and a British, or just a Canadian?
I have to check more into that. I think it's a dual passport.
And Frank has said you can box for the European
and the British title.
and British title.
And
At the
Commonwealth.
moment.
And the Commonwealth title.
So,
I think after a period of residence, we're having it looked into by the lawyers now.
What license do we have? A British license?
They'd be licensed on the British box control management.
And an American license?
No, British contract.
British contract.
British license only.
from the qualifying period, you need to be normally resident in Britain to be British. To be.
Different is only born in Britain, so.
Yeah, but you need to be normally resident as well as.
Well, he will be residing in Britain.
Yeah. What education? Sorry,
Pardon?
what education? What do you want to be?
I have to think about that even more. There's a wide field of things I may want to do.
Give me some idea where you want to finish, where you want to be in the end.
Hopefully a business course. And,
Sure.
yeah.
All we've got to do is read John's contracts. The easiest.
He should be a journalist. All we want is an intro, and we can put the rest of it down there.
Do you have a plan? I mean, have you thought in your own mind a plan of what's going to happen over the next, say, 2 years?
As far as my boxing is concerned, just to train hard and do well, and have my goals in sight.
Some of them being partly obvious one.
Well, winning every fight that comes along.
How long do you see it before you get a crack at the world title, realistically?
When I'm ready, it could be 2 years, could be 3, but I don't think I'll be stepping in there unless I'm ready.
You want to get extra ready?
Yeah.
It really depends on the situation too, you know, with the way the titles are right now, it's United under Tyson, but it's a big question as to whether he will survive his current situation and whether the titles will remain together.
And Olympic champions have got a history of coming out and doing rather well in the program somewhere.
Well, they have.
There won't
You
be
know.
too many ahead of Lennox and all races when he starts.
No, but there's no rush. It's a question of development for Lennox. You know, when Frank says he's ready, when his trainer says he's ready, whoever that may be, we're all going to sit down together and we'll take the action when it's required.
Obviously, you'll be put under pressure because a lot will be expected,
Well,
especially for an English.
Put it this way, he's the gold medalist, and the attraction that we think that he's going to be, they're going to have to wait for us. When we're ready, we'll be ready. It's not going to be a Tyrell Biggs situation.
You'll call him a shot.
That's right.
Caution is the name of the game.
Do you have a trainer?
We'll be interviewing some trainers in New York on Wednesday.
Sorry, has he got a trainer yet, Frank?
No, we'll be
No one's
interviewing in
been
New York
chosen.
on Wednesday.
What do you want as a trainer? Now, keep talking once about having a defensive coach, an offensive coach. You know, here we just have one trainer. Do you want a whole team or what?
No, basically one trainer with all them qualities. And, you know, you've got to be happy with the situation as a trainer. Like, you've got to be happy. You got to both be able to get along together. It's got to...
Which sort of people have you thought of a lot in the past? People like Futch or Dundee or not? Have any names occurred to you?
Yeah, we've talked to, actually, last week we talked to Angelo Dundee, and we talked to a few others, but I like to keep them private right now, but...
You wouldn't preclude a British coach trainer if you thought was one good enough? You open to that?
if there was one good enough, yeah, certainly.
Does the British title figure in your plans, or is that getting away? Is that irrelevant? The British champion.
No, it's certainly up there. It is.
It's very important for each title.
Is it?
Yeah, that will be the first stage.
How long is it going to be, Frank? Can I ask you?
We've got to go through the period, obviously, and find out when, you know, he'll be allowed to fight. But it will bring respect. Lennox is to bring respect back to the British title.
Bring the next World Cup to his hand. Are you aware of the domestic scene here, Lennox? Are you aware of how everybody's seen gone here?
I've heard certain statements about certain heavyweights.
We sat and had a nice chat with Mickey Duff and Jarvis Astaire at Caesar's Palace in February, so they told us all about it. And they were, of course, interested in us becoming the next stage in progression from Frank Bruce to Gary Mason to Lennox Lewis. And, you know, unfortunately, Lloyd Hunnigan looked terrible that night, and Lennox, I know, was not persuaded as to, you know, how well Mickey's people can do defensively. And, you know, we're not trying to slag off on them, but Lloyd had a bad day. And I like Lloyd.
Was it a factor or was it a factor? The way that
He's impressionable.
I am impressionable, but no, you know, I realize some boxers have bad days, and that day Lloyd had a bad day.
Yes.
When you were a kid in Forest Gate, did you ever think about being pro boxer then?
No,
Just a bad boy.
yeah, survival.
Yeah. And have you ever seen a picture of a Lonsdale belt, for example? You know, the trophy that our fighters wear when they're champions. Have you ever seen that?
We have brought a belt along today for the next look at.
Yeah, I was up at the place where they keep it.
So you've seen those?
At the board.
Did they impress you, those trophies?
Yeah, it did.
Because, I mean, I compare with some of the tank
Every
ones.
trophy impresses me. It's a trophy.
All the plastic ones.
Yes, can we have a belt forward? We have brought a belt along for him to look at, and then it's a gold medal.
It doesn't get it all the
It's
way.
Clinton's belt.
He's going to give it back.
No, not this one, this is his own.
Oh, right.
Do you want to pass it over, please? This one back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Stage one.
Handsome. Yeah, I brought along my gold medal to show anybody that.
Yeah, there are not so many of those.
Right, will you be promoting the show the presentation?
Yes, there is this one.
That's right.
Be in London.
Finsbury Park.
Be in London.
No, it won't be at Finsbury Park. That's too early.
No,
No, not mine. No. You've got an option.
Maybe. Who knows?
You've got an option on the tent, haven't you?
If you write,
Between the tent and Mickey Duck, I think I'm going crazy.
You had a good start.
your stories are as good as we hear they will be. You'll probably be able to fill a tent with us fights, we hope. That would be nice.
What's the reaction in Canada to the news that you're starting your professional career?
They don't know yet.
No, a lot of people in Canada don't know. We kept it really secretive on what we were going to do, our plans. And I guess after today, they will know.
You think you expect the reaction?
It should be big. A lot of people were really looking forward and, waiting, anticipating the day that Lennox Lewis turns pro.
So it's
And
shocked
who
that
would.
you turn pro here to a country that's never produced a world heavyweight champion?
I don't think it'll shock them too much. I think a lot of my friends are going to be happy that I'm leaving Canada to go somewhere where my sport is big.
There isn't that much chance in Canada itself, is there?
No,
Not for pro boxing.
no, it's pretty dead at the moment.
What actually is your current fee? Now that all the negotiations of 4 months of travelling the world or travelling the States finished, signed, sealed, and settled. I mean, what do you feel now then?
I feel a lot better. I can get focused on my training and my career.
Have you boxed at all since the Olympics?
I've sparred, I've worked out. I didn't want to take the chance of going into any fights.
What about your weight? Is that staying?
I really watch what I eat, so I love my body so much, so I don't want to get fat.
What is your weight?
230?
No, about 225, give or take.
You boxed at what, 220?
I box at 220, yes.
Yeah. So,
And your height?
It's about 6'4" and 5".
6'5".
So when do you anticipate actually come over here to live? I mean, when you have to train up, when do you actually anticipate living here?
Within the next fortnight, it'll all be tied up.
Yeah.
Training and stuff.
We have press conferences during the week in other places, and then after that, he has to get all his loose ends tied up in Canada. And then he's going to come over and begin training. And he's wanted to train for a long time, but I wouldn't want to be that first opponent.
you move into a house on the edge of London, for argument's sake, who would be with you to keep you company? Because, I mean, your brother, I think, lives Wembley, right? Would you have just a trainer? Would you have somebody you're cooking? What can you see as a sort of family thing to make you feel at home?
You've got to see the contract to understand it.
He's taking care of it.
Yeah, I'm looked after well. I like to be by myself. You know, I'm really into music, so, you know, I'll have probably a music room. And
No, it's a big challenge for a lot of fellas, even those who come from Birmingham, Manchester. They come down to London, they can't see that. It's something you know that can be a problem.
yeah.
And John, would you be here? Or here?
I will be coming over to visit. I'm not going to reside here for now.
Are you going to come?
If it's necessary, I will, sure. I work for him.
Yeah, you continue to work for him. That's right.
Anybody else?
I'm in school, as he said. I don't have a lot of time to do a lot else other than I'm at a graduate school of business in Northwestern University in the United States, and I'll be graduating in June. It's another degree that I've been adding. And this opportunity came up in October. I met with Lennox the first time, and because I was in school, I felt I had the time to devote to it, yet continue with my studies. And probably the last month or so, it's become very overwhelming, just trying to take care of this offer that was made by Frank and all the other offers that have poured in since.
How do you know Lennox?
Mutual acquaintance introduced us, a reporter in Toronto, put us together.
You Seattle, eh?
Excuse me?
You from Seattle, or you?
I'm from Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah. But you in college, right? Where are you in school?
In Chicago.
In Chicago.
Your age?
I'm 28.
And how many degrees you got?
Well, I graduated college in '82. I graduated law school in 1985, and now I'm going to have my master's in management in 1989.
Thank you.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
I've been threatened.
Thank God for you now.
Yes. It'll cost you more.
Frank, was it always our
Top 10
option?
British heavyweight.
Sorry?
Top 10 British heavyweight.
We'll just see what happens. We'll take the time.
Was it always your idea, John, to move into boxing in some form?
Oh, yeah. I worked with Matthew Hilton before Lennox, and that's how I got to know the reporter. I worked with him before his title fight, Buster Drayton. And I guess because of the advice I gave to Matthew, which, you know, his family members, some of them did not want to take, I think I earned the respect of a lot of people in the media up there, which is why I was put together with Lennox. I gave good advice that wasn't heeded, and I walked away from the situation because I wasn't going to get paid for advice that wasn't going to be taken.
Frank, it's been a tremendous triumph for you personally, I know. John has talked about the fact that he found the American promoters and matchmakers played fair, didn't go behind his back. Have you found that yourself, your own experience, British and American rivals?
There's been a lot. I'm not in the business of slagging off anyone, but there's been a lot of bad things said about me during this negotiation by other promoters when they realised I was after Lennox. Basically, I don't think there's a lot of fairness in this game. You know.
Not things said publicly, but behind.
Things said to me, you know, a lot of people said things to me about Frank. Everybody has their pet story about somebody else,
Yeah.
you know, and
We realize that.
yeah, we realize that everything's taken with a grain of salt, you know. Everybody's, you know, of course, you know, quote, screwed somebody somewhere along the line, and they'll tell you all about everybody else they know who's interested, trying to dissuade you from even considering their offers. And you just have to realize that this is boxing, there are no rules.
I mean, the best part of the thing was I was negotiating with Mickey Duff in one room for the Ben and Watson fight, and I had John and Lennox outside in another room, and I was trying to keep them both apart. And then all of a sudden, Mickey had one of his tempers, got up and walked out of the room, and bumped straight into John. So
You did bump into it?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Where was that taking place, in London or America?
in
That was in
London,
London.
in London. And then I continued for another 5 hours with Mickey Duff in a restaurant.
You paid for it?
I did. Wherever I haven't paid for it yet.
It was a rhetorical question.
Yeah. He paid for our meal. I give him credit. Jarvis, they were very nice.
Financial backing is coming from where?
From a business, from a group in the city.
You don't want to know.
No.
Very legitimate business. Let's put it that way.
And I would like to say a special thank you to them, obviously, because they were taking what I've said and they believe that this is the man that can bring back the title to Britain. You know.
Figures?
There's been figures branded about, so somewhere in between.
As Lennox said, he's happy, and I'm pleased, and that's what counts. And it can work for both parties. You know, it's not a deal that is so one-sided in our favor that it can never work out. There's a lot of elements in it that make us very happy. You know, of course, money is something that when you go into professional boxing, you understand it's a profession and you're looking forward to really securing financial success for the rest of your life. And of course, this isn't doing that all at once, but it's giving Lennox the opportunity to clear his debt from his amateur days. And he was an amateur since the '84 Olympics, where he fought Tyrell Biggs. That's a long time to be just on a government subsidy, and he lives alone with his mother in Canada. And you know, it's quite an expense to be an amateur boxer these days. So that's going to take up some of that debt, clear it, get him over here, and get him on the right track.
Did you know Nike Ben as a kid or not? I mean, as well as when I'm saying you knew Ben, did you know Ben or not?
No.
That was considered no.
But he's a nice guy, I have met him.
John, can you help us a little bit? You're used to working in America where money is mentioned. Now, that putting Frank on the spot. My colleague works for one of the great agencies of the world. He's asking about the money. Is it not fair if we can say to you, would we be mad to say that the package is worth $500,000?
No.
Right.
We wouldn't be mad on this.
No, we wouldn't.
We wouldn't be mad. Everyone here is mad, that's what I understand.
No, but money
This
makes
country.
decision in the States that people do
Well,
talk about much more.
in the States, the funny thing is, no, it was a much better deal to come here, to tell you the truth. But we never really looked at it in purely financial terms.
No.
We analyzed every offer coming, saying different people come to the table with different packages. And a lot of people in the States, in fact, were very, very concerned with getting involved in what they were terming a bidding war. And you can talk yourself blue in the face telling them that there's a lot more involved here than money, because, you know, a large signing bonus does not mean anything to me if his career is not going to be handled properly. Because he risks his life every time he gets in the ring. And there's no reason to take an upfront sum and then go in and take a chance on his life. It's not worth it. And here we've taken care of both.
Yeah, sure. I did say package education. And
Right.
And Frank's word, I'm not much
Very
sure,
nice.
but-
Yeah.
What was the biggest straight offer you got? You know, the upfront down payment offer?
You want me to identify it or say what the
No,
amount
no,
was?
just the figure.
I can't give figures. We've decided not to disclose anything, and just because it wouldn't be fair to the people who we dealt with in confidence, and also to Frank and his group. And we don't think it's proper to release the figures.
Were you surprised the best offer came from Britain
Not at all.
rather than America?
Not at all. No, you know, you got to realize. You look at Lennox. In the heavyweight division in the States, boxers are almost a dime a dozen. And here, it was just a perfect match, just the way it came through. That Lennox was born over here. You know, so there is some historical tie to Britain. You know, his brother lives here, so he knew a little bit about the scene. And I'll tell you, the more we thought about it in the beginning, we were getting a lot of, you know, approached by a lot of the people in the U.S. The more we thought about it, the more we thought about the British scene. You know, when a Frank Bruno can come and fight for the title twice, and you say, you know, in fact, the first time I thought he had a legitimate chance of winning. The second time I thought it was a joke. And I said, if someone from Britain can get 2 shots that easily, you know, it's certainly an easier road to the title if you want to do it the way they did it. I believe we're going to choose to do it a little differently to make sure that Lennox gets his experience here and gets a lot of publicity and gets his fights in England, but also do fights elsewhere in the world. Go to the States, get there and get that competition. Don't, you know, fight 30 stiffs and then fight James Bone Crusher Smith and get knocked out. It's not the way it should be. You know, you've got to go and you've got to learn every single fight and take your steps towards becoming what eventually will be the heavyweight champion of the world. You can't dodge people.
John, we're aware that talent isn't all it takes to be world champion. Do you think that you might have upset some connections along the way by coming here? Ultimately prevent you from actually achieving the world
No,
title shot?
not at all. In fact, that's one of the reasons we made the suggestion to talk to HBA, the Houston Boxing Association in the States, to make sure that early on There is a possibility everyone will be, kind to our face and shake our hands and smile, and behind your back will be saying, we're going to knock this guy off. Well, the way it's structured now, we have full confidence in Frank's abilities over here, and with Frank working with Stan over in the States, I feel as if we're protected and that the road is going to be a straight one to the top. That no one's going to mess with us in that way. I think it's pretty well taken care of. And there's always that possibility. Everyone holds a grudge. If they don't get him, they feel like they missed out, or that we haven't given them the proper...
It's happened many times.
Oh, yeah, well, I feel that his talent will take him above that as long as his career is handled properly, and we retain power with Frank to approve all opponents. So if anything happens, it's our own fault too.
Presumably there's going to be TV interest from Canada and America, right?
We hope so, yeah. Well, Canada really doesn't pay much for TV. It's not a great market for boxing at all, which is the reason we're not there. I think the people really respect Lennox and his accomplishments there, and they're going to want to see him. But
Yeah, I think we're going to change that too, that image that's in Canada right now.
Have you got a title with HBO?
do I?
HBO.
There's no title with anyone.
There's no tie-in with anyone now. We know everybody in the industry, so it's not going to be a problem once time comes around. If you're hot, you're hot. That's Michael Nunn. And Michael Nunn puts 3,000 people in the Las Vegas Hilton, but he's on HBO. Tell me.
Alex, is your uncle still Bruno Marcel, as far as you know?
I'm not sure right now at the
Wasn't
moment.
he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Behind the camera.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
If there's no further immediate questions, I think we might like to do a bit on the television. There's coffee, obviously, for everyone, and there will be lunch. And